The smell of roasted chicken and mashed potatoes filled the mess hall that afternoon, blending with the hum of conversation and the clatter of trays. Soldiers lined up in their fatigues, laughing, trading jabs about training drills, and complaining about the heat. For them, it was just another day in the Nevada desert base, but for one woman behind the counter, it was another day of staying invisible. Elena Rivers moved like someone who didn't want to be seen but couldn't help being noticed. She had an odd grace, a precision in her movements, the way she scooped mashed potatoes, the way her eyes flicked around the room, scanning exits without realizing she was doing it. She wore her brown hair tucked neatly beneath a cap, her uniform apron spotless despite hours of work. She didn't smile much, but when she did, it softened her sharp, distant features. To most of the base, she was just Miss Rivers. The quiet woman who somehow remembered everyone's favorite meal, who'd hand an extra biscuit to a homesick private, or pour a little more gravy for the ones who looked too tired to care. No one questioned why she worked there. In a place filled with people running toward danger, there were always some running away from it. That afternoon, the door swung open, and the room fell silent for half a second, just enough to acknowledge rank. Colonel Nathan Briggs stepped in. 6'2", silver at the temples, still carrying himself like he could run 20 miles with full gear. His gaze moved through the room like a quiet command, soldiers straightened, laughter softened. He had that kind of presence that didn't need to shout. Briggs moved through the line, tray in hand, nodding to a few men he recognized. When he reached the counter, Elena was ladling chicken stew into bowls, head down, focused. "Afternoon, sir," she said, her voice calm, low, almost too composed. Briggs nodded absently, still half thinking about the next mission briefing. "Afternoon. Smells good today." She handed him his tray without looking up. But then, as she turned to grab another serving spoon, her sleeve lifted just slightly. And that's when he saw it. A small tattoo, faint but impossible to mistake. A black viper curling around a dagger. Briggs froze. His grip on the tray tightened. He hadn't seen that symbol in years, not since Operation Ghostline, a mission that never officially existed. The emblem belonged to an elite, off-the-books Special Forces unit, Shadow Viper. Only 6 members ever carried that mark. And only 3 survived. "Where did you get that tattoo?" His voice was quiet, but sharp enough to cut through the noise of the hall. Elena's hand paused midair. Slowly, she turned her head toward him. Her eyes, a pale storm gray, met his. And in that instant, Briggs knew. He didn't need her to answer. She didn't flinch, didn't stutter, just said, "Must have been a long time ago, Colonel." The hall suddenly felt smaller, quieter. The soldiers continued eating, oblivious, but for Briggs, the air had shifted. He leaned slightly forward, lowering his voice. "You served." Her jaw tightened. "I served food," she said, trying to keep her tone light. But something about the way she said it, too smooth, too fast, only confirmed what he already suspected. "No, not here," he said softly. "I mean overseas. Ghostline, 2014. Her spoon hit the counter. For a moment, she didn't breathe. Then she shook her head, forcing a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "You've got the wrong person." Briggs didn't buy it. The memory hit him like shrapnel. The burning village in Helmand, the radio static, the explosion that tore through the night. A woman dragging 2 men from the wreckage, bullets raining down, and then disappearing without a trace. "Sergeant Elena Marlowe," he said slowly. "Viper 6. Her eyes flickered, just once. Then she whispered, almost pleading, "Please, Colonel. Not here." Briggs glanced around. No one was paying attention. Still, he set down his tray, his voice low. "We buried you. Your name's on the wall at Langley." "I know," she said. Her voice trembled for the first time. "And I'd like to keep it that way." Silence stretched between them. The hum of the mess hall faded. He wanted to say more, demand answers, maybe even call in security, but something in her expression stopped him. The kind of pain that only came from surviving what no one else had. She took a step back, arms crossed tightly. "I'm not her anymore," she murmured. "I cook now. That's all." Briggs studied her, the faint scar across her wrist, the way her eyes kept darting toward the door, calculating. This wasn't a woman hiding from guilt. This was a soldier hiding from ghosts. He exhaled slowly. "You saved my man that night in Helmand. You pulled him out of that building before it blew." Elena swallowed hard. "That was a lifetime ago." "Not for me," he said quietly. For a long moment, they just stood there, two people bound by something that officially never happened. Finally, Elena broke the silence. Please, Colonel, just let me be. I made peace with that life. Briggs hesitated, then nodded once. You're safe here, Marlowe. Whether you like it or not. Her lips twitched in the faintest hint of a smile, one part gratitude, one part warning. You don't know how wrong you are about that. Before he could ask, she turned back to the counter, pulling down the next tray of food as though nothing had happened. But Briggs couldn't eat. He left the hall with his mind spinning, trying to piece together why one of the most skilled covert operatives in U.S. history was now serving food in a desert cafeteria under a fake name. Outside, the wind howled against the barracks. Inside, Elena exhaled, her hands trembling as she braced against the counter. She'd seen the look in the colonel's eyes, recognition, yes, but also realization. Which meant it was only a matter of time before someone else recognized her too. And this time, she might not get another chance to disappear. That night, the desert was silent, too silent. The kind of silence that felt like it was holding its breath. The moon hung low over the base, casting silver lines on the sand and steel. Inside the barracks, soldiers snored, fans hummed, and the scent of dust and oil filled the air. But in the mess hall, the lights were still on. Elena sat alone at a back table, her apron folded beside her. A cup of untouched coffee cooled by her hand as she stared at the dark window. Her reflection looked like a stranger, older, harder, haunted. She had been living under the radar for almost 7 years. No calls, no family, no trace. Just one rule: never be found. But one look from Colonel Briggs earlier that day had cracked that fragile wall. He wasn't supposed to be here, no one from that life was. And now that he knew, it was only a matter of time before they did too. She lifted her sleeve again, looking at the tattoo, the black viper curling around the dagger. The ink was faded, but it still burned like a scar. She remembered the day she got it, the pain, the pride, the oath. No names, no recognition, no surrender. That was before Ghostline turned into a massacre. Before her entire team was declared dead in a classified operation that never existed. Before she crawled through sand and fire to escape the enemy, only to realize the ones hunting her weren't foreign. They were her own. A sound behind her made her flinch. Couldn't sleep either. Colonel Briggs' voice was calm, low. He stepped into the light, holding 2 cups of coffee. Elena's hand instinctively went to her belt, where a weapon used to be. Old habits didn't die, they just waited. I don't drink coffee at night, she said flatly. He set 1 cup down anyway. You used to. 2 sugars, no cream. Her eyes narrowed. You've been doing your homework. Just remembering. He took a seat across from her. You shouldn't be here, Elena. If I found you, others can too. She looked away. You think I don't know that? Every morning I wake up expecting it to be my last. Briggs leaned forward. Who are you hiding from? Her jaw tightened. Same people who sent us into that mission. The ones who left us to die when it went south. You remember Ghostline? They called it a failure. But it wasn't. It was a cleanup. Briggs frowned. Cleanup. Elena's voice lowered, trembling with anger and memory. We found something we weren't supposed to. Documents, files that linked senior defense officials to private arms deals with insurgents. They couldn't afford to let that out. So they used us to retrieve the evidence, and then erased us. Briggs went still. You're saying the attack wasn't random. It was a hit, she said bitterly. Friendly fire wasn't friendly. He sat back, processing it all. My God, that's why I ran, she said, staring into the coffee. Changed my name, burned every trace. Working in kitchens and shelters, it was the only way to blend in. People don't look twice at the woman serving food. Briggs rubbed his temples. If that's true, you're still in danger. Those men are still in power. And if they learn you're alive, they'll finish the job, she interrupted. Which is why you need to forget you ever saw me. Briggs shook his head. You know I can't do that. Not when my base, my men, could be at risk. Elena looked up sharply. What do you mean? I got an intel brief last week, he said quietly. There's been chatter about a ghost operative resurfacing on U.S. soil. They called her Viper 6. I didn't connect it until I saw that tattoo. Her blood ran cold. So they already know. He nodded grimly. And they're coming. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The clock ticked softly in the background, each second heavier than the last. Finally, Elena stood. Then I need to leave before sunrise. Briggs rose too. You won't make it. They'll expect that. They'll have eyes on every exit by morning. She turned to him, her expression steely. Then I'll go through the one they won't expect. Which one is that? She glanced toward the armory across the yard. Straight through them. Briggs blinked. You're serious. I've been running for 7 years, Colonel. I'm done running. He hesitated. If what you say is true, I can help. I have access to transport, contacts. You don't understand, she said, cutting him off. This doesn't end with me. They're already inside your network. That's how they found me. Someone on this base is feeding them intel. Briggs' jaw clenched. You have proof. I have a name, she said, eyes darkening. Major Dawson. The name hit him like a bullet. Dawson, his trusted second in command. Dawson, no, he's been with me since Afghanistan, she finished. Exactly. He was in the same region when Ghostline went down. He's not who you think he is. As if on cue, the lights flickered. Then, boom, the sound of an explosion tore through the night. The mess hall windows shattered inward as fire lit up the base. Briggs and Elena hit the ground instinctively, rolling behind the counter. The alarms blared, soldiers shouting outside. They're here, Elena hissed, grabbing a metal drawer and pulling out a small pistol she'd hidden long ago. Briggs stared. You kept a weapon, she gave a half smirk. Old habits. Through the shattered window, shadowy figures moved, silent, trained, fast. Mercenaries. They're not military, Briggs said, peering through the smoke. No, Elena replied. They're cleaners. Gunfire erupted. Bullets tore through the walls as the two scrambled toward the kitchen exit. Elena moved like she never stopped training, every step calculated, every motion efficient. They burst into the alley behind the hall, the heat of the fire searing their backs. Briggs drew his sidearm. We can't hold them off long. Elena turned to him, eyes burning with purpose. We don't have to. We just have to expose them. How? She pulled a small drive from under her dog tags, a battered USB encased in metal. This. Everything we found in Ghostline. I copied it before they burned the site. It's the reason they tried to kill us. Briggs stared in disbelief. You've been carrying that all these years. Never let go of the truth, she said. It's the only weapon they can't destroy. Footsteps approached. She handed him the drive. You still have contacts in Washington. Get it out. What about you? I'll buy you time. No, he said firmly. We do this together. But before he could argue more, she pushed him toward the shadows. You have a family, Colonel. A name worth keeping. I lost mine a long time ago. He hesitated, then nodded. You're still a soldier, Elena. She smiled faintly. Always was. As Briggs disappeared into the night, Elena turned toward the fire. The mercenaries closed in, rifles raised. She took a deep breath, the kind she hadn't taken since Helmand. Then she moved. The sound of gunfire echoed across the desert, sharp, relentless, fierce. By dawn, the base was a wreck of smoke and silence. Colonel Briggs made it to the secure line and transmitted the drive to the Pentagon. Inside it were the files, names, payments, and proof of betrayal at the highest level. When the dust settled, the government would know the truth. But Elena Rivers, or Sergeant Elena Marlowe, Viper 6, was gone. Her apron was found near the mess hall ruins, burned and torn. No body, no trace, just a single word scrawled in ash on the wall. Not done yet, and somewhere, far beyond the Nevada desert, a ghost walked again, ready to finish what she started.